Are you excited for your all-American breakfast?
Yes.
What's that?
Hash brown.
Solid, right?
Yeah. Pancakes. Oh, it's fluffy. A lot better than What's your top 5 anime? Top 5 anime of all time.
I don't remember. What's my list? Where's my list?
Okay, so the first one is
Oh, same Minions. Assassination Classroom.
yes, Assassination Classroom number 1. It made us both cry. Second one for me is Hunter x Hunter. For you?
Oh, yeah.
Hunter x Hunter? Okay. My third one is Summertime Rendering.
Same. Actually, no. Maybe Summertime Rendering is second. And then Hunter x Hunter third.
Okay. Fourth, either Your Lie in April or Attack on Titans. You? Okay, maybe
Fourth
Your
and
Lie in April.
fifth.
Fourth. Fifth, Attack on Titans.
Yeah.
There you go. Top 5. So I had wanted to talk about this at a later time, but I came across this article by a renowned professor in my field, and that sparked me to talk about it now. In his article, he gave 2 pieces of advice for anyone applying for an academic position, both as a faculty and as a student. The first advice that he gave was to research ahead of time on the person that you're speaking to, the people that you're interacting with, so that you can talk to them about their work and talk to them about things that they're interested in. What this does is give you an advantage over your peers who may not have done their research, and it also impresses the person that's interviewing you because it shows that you are interested in them. The word that Dr. Bloom uses is charming. It is very charming when you as an interviewer are talking to someone who is interested about your work and who has obviously done research about you before they came to speak to you. The second advice that he gives is to always be cynical, so always be on your guard the moment that you step into a formal interview, an informal gathering, anything to do with the department that you are applying to work with. And I think that this is a very important advice that people may not be very aware of, even if you're going for an informal meeting with, say, the students of the department. Know that everything you say, your behavior, your mannerisms, all of these will be taken into account, and students do talk to faculty members. So, just be on your best behavior. I'm not saying that you should be someone that you're not, but try to show the best version of yourself. Anyway, this article prompted me to share my own experience as a PhD student. I entered Boston University in August of 2023, so I've been on the receiving end of interviews. I've also been an interviewer for the incoming students of fall of last year, and I'm going to be an interviewer again in the next coming weeks for the incoming students of fall this year. So my advice in this video is for students who are preparing for their interviews in the upcoming weeks. I'm gonna be talking about 2 things. First, competency, and second, fit. Now that I'm thinking about it, I realize that competency and fit applies for both your PhD applications as well as your PhD interview. First, competency. Everyone applying for a PhD would know that you should be at a certain level in order to prove that you are ready to take a PhD. Things like average or above average grades and research experience are what most PhD applicants would have. Bonus points if you have published a research paper in an international journal before, if you've presented at an international conference before. All these things add to your application to show how competent you are and gives you an advantage over your peers. Once you've gotten the interview, congratulate yourself first. You've beaten out at least 100 over other applicants to get to where you are. At the interview, What do you do to show your competence? The main question that everyone asks is, why do you want to do a PhD? You've got to be clear about your reasons for doing a PhD, and you've got to show that you have a good idea for what you want to do and what you hope to accomplish in a PhD. You may or may not want to pursue an academia route. It doesn't matter which route you want to take. As long as you show your interviewer that you know what it takes to get there, you have an idea of how you want to get there, and in general, you know what you want to do. Another very common question that interviewers ask during a PhD interview is, tell me about yourself. This is a very broad question, and I like this question because it allows me to tell the interviewer the things that I want them to remember. Here's where you can show how competent you are to the interviewer. To answer this question, you want to assume that your interviewer knows nothing about you. You'd be surprised to know that most interviewers aren't as prepared as you think that they are. So here's where you get to highlight parts of your resume that you want people to take away. Start by introducing yourself. What's your name? Where did you graduate from? And importantly, what are you interested in doing? This can be two things. If you're going in the academia route, what are your research interests? If you're not going in the academia route, what do you want to do? Once you've established that, you go on to talk about the things that you've done before coming to apply for your PhD that relates to what you're interested in doing and what your future goals are. So for example, if I say that I'm interested in how children learn and how they share information with others, I back that up with research experience that I've had, papers that I've written, conference presentations that I've given that relates to this interest that I have. This way, you show people that not only do you have a goal, you're also actively taking steps to achieve that goal. If you're an international student, you have the advantage here of being able to talk about your background and how your background has shaped the person that you are today, as well as your future interests and your goals. The interviewers don't just want to hear what's on your resume, they want to know who you are as a person. The second thing that interviewers are looking out for is fit. First, you want to make sure that you have a good fit with the lab that you're applying to. And this goes both ways. The lab that you're applying to should be doing research that you are personally interested in, because this is going to be a place that you're working in for the next 4 or 5 years. You want to make sure that your research interests align with the lab's research direction so that you can receive better support for the next 4 or 5 years in your PhD journey. In most PhD interviews, you're not just speaking to your potential advisor and the faculty members. You're also speaking to the lab members that you will potentially be working with if you're accepted into the program. These interviews with lab members are typically informal. In some departments and schools, current PhD students are also part of the interview process, so you might meet these lab members in the formal interview when you're interviewing with other faculty members as well. The lab members are the ones that mainly look out for whether you are a good fit for the lab. They look out for things like how you treat them, the types of questions that you're asking, your work ethic. All these things tell them whether or not you would be a good fit for the lab. Fit within the lab is an important thing because you're going to be peers and you're going to be working with each other. So the current lab members would want to be sure that you're joining the lab can help the lab grow. To make sure that you're a good fit for the lab, you want to ask questions to understand more about the lab culture, and the lab members are the best people to ask these questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions that you're genuinely curious about. Remember, they're choosing you as much as you are choosing them. When I was applying to this lab, I remembered asking one of the PhD students, how do they cope with potential burnout? This was a question that I was genuinely curious about, and I wanted to know what they thought about it. I think asking these kinds of unexpected questions shows your personality and shows the lab members who you are as a person. Secondly, and importantly, what most interviewers are also looking out for is your fit within the program that you're applying to. Most PhD programs are small, so interviewers are looking out to see whether you would be a good fit with everyone else in the program, as well as whether your values align with the program's values. A lot of universities in North America these days are embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion. So what are your thoughts about these, and do you include them in your work? If so, how do you include them in your work? I think a lot of PhD applicants focus too much on making sure that they impress the advisor that they're applying to, as well as the lab members that they're speaking with, and they forget also that they're applying to the school. The school makes the final decision on whether or not you get into the program. So you want to make sure that you're impressing the faculty members members that are not your advisors as well. These faculty members care more about how you fit within the department rather than what your research interests are. So here is where being competent alone is not enough. You need to have a good fit with the department and with the program that you're applying for. Here, international students have the advantage of talking about your lived experience and how that has shaped your view on diversity, equity, and inclusion. For example, I'm from Singapore, and Singapore has a diverse, multicultural, and multi-religious environment. Growing up in Singapore has taught me how important it is for people of different religious and racial backgrounds to live together harmoniously. And this lived experience is then translated into my work when I think about how children from different cultural backgrounds learn and share information differently. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. I'm in the office today to do some work. I have a review paper that I've been wanting to write since August of last year that I'm finally going to get to. I'm going to focus on that, and then in the afternoon, Max and I are going to IKEA and Costco, and I'm excited for those. That was a pretty productive morning, so I'm gonna have lunch now and then probably continue working on the paper while waiting for Max to come and pick me up.
Right now, we have a problem, Mr. Morgan. He confessed to the killing, he confessed to stealing the money, but right now his present mental state...
One piece of advice I don't hear often enough is this: try to have fun during your PhD interviews. I know that sounds strange. Interviews can feel stressful and there's a lot riding on them. But remember, it's not just about them choosing you, it's also about you finding a good fit. These conversations are a chance to connect with people who are just as passionate about your research interests as you are. It's an opportunity to explore exciting ideas, ask questions, and imagine the possibilities for your future work. So instead of focusing solely on impressing your interviewers, think of it as a collaborative discussion. Relax, be yourself, and enjoy the process. It can turn a nerve-wracking experience into an energizing and even inspiring one.